And hello, all of you wonderful car lovers out there, and welcome to the CNC Auto Show. Jump right in, buckle up, and let's ride. I am Aaron Clements.
I'm John Ryan.
And our goal today is to give you some great information that will make your car, truck, or SUV safer, more dependable, and make that baby last longer for less money and less hassle. We want to say thank you to all of you that tuned in or logged in. And a great big thank you to all of you wonderful people there listening in WRLA AM 1490 West Point, Georgia. We appreciate you jumping on board and riding with us in the CNC Auto Show. We are here to take your phone calls, and that number, 706-863-5800. You can also email your question to ccautoshow@gmail.com. That's on Saturday mornings, 8:05 to 10 Eastern Time. You can also watch us live on Facebook and learn more about this show, your car, or you can also find a Napa Auto Care Center near you. All of that at ccautoshow.com. And this show is brought to you in part by those wonderful people at Napa Heating and Cooling Systems and NGK Spark Plugs. Thank you to all of you that tuned in. We are ready to go. And we got a wonderful show. And John Ryan, I think this is a show you're really going to enjoy because you are very, very knowledgeable in this department. And big time. And that's towing stuff.
Oh, well, I definitely like to tow.
Yeah, it has to do with towing. So we'll be giving hints on how you can safely tow things, how little tips and tricks that you can do, and safety tips to go along with it. So just everyone stay on board, and we'll ride and talk about towing things and also other tips, a lot of other tips about things. So give us a call. Are we ready to go to those calls?
Yep, let's go over to Patrick.
Perfect. Hello, Patrick, and welcome to the CNC Auto Show.
Good morning, John. I've got a question for you. I've got a 91 Mercedes 500 SL. They got me 61,000 miles on it. It hasn't been driven that much. The past 2 years, I've had to rebuild the fuel injection distributor twice, which ain't a cheap situation. I'm wondering, how hard would it be to put an LS motor in that thing and just be done with all the over-engineered Mercedes stuff?
It's not how hard. Now, it definitely would be a wise decision. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it can be done, and LS can be put into just about anything. Of course, that one's already rear-wheel drive, so, you'd have to get a transmission out of something, along the same lines, change drive shaft. But I would definitely say it could be done. They put it in everything.
What about the part that's got me kind of worried is the electronics on the car, making to the electronics of the LS.
Right. Yes. As far as, like speedometer and stuff like that, you'd have a hard time, mating that to all the LS stuff, just mainly because of the electronics. But really, they make a standalone PCM that controls the transmission for the LS, which would be a 4L60E transmission. And really, you could LS will run with a battery and like 3 power wires and like 3 or 4 grounds. So, I mean, it doesn't require much for it to run and go and shift. But like you said, more of the things inside the Mercedes may not function. But really, that's kind of it as far as the speedometer. I mean, all your HVAC stuff can be adapted to it because that's a fairly simple system. So, I mean, it definitely can be done. I'll for sure say that.
Would you know anybody you could recommend that would like to take that on?
Oh, that would be a good question. Not right offhand. I could definitely put some thought into it. If you'd like to give us a call at the shop, I can try and see if I can come up with somebody for you.
Or you could email your information, your contact information to ccautoshow@gmail.com, and then that way we could do some research on that and come up with some ideas.
Yeah.
On being able to do that.
But that would be
fine.
That'd be a really cool swap though if you did it.
Yeah.
Well, I had a time and chain guy break in. They're talking like $5,000 to fix it. To me, it just ain't worth it.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, you would have an awesome machine if you did that. And I've seen that swap in a lot of other vehicles, but I'm not positive I've seen that in a 500
I personally
SL.
haven't, but I would think it's out there.
There's no doubt in my mind somebody's done it.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's just I hadn't seen one, but I would love to. And you could make that the CNC Auto Show project. You could keep us updated on it.
Well, I've got a new job with me and my wife. We're gone 2 to 3 months at a time, so I know even if I fixed it, it'd just go back to breaking down for not being driven. And I know LS can sit for a little bit where Mercedes can't.
That's right. Yep.
Yep. Yeah, that was a very tricky fuel system on that model.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a hunk of junk.
That's a technical term.
That's right.
Yeah. That's the polite technical term.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, Patrick, let us know how it turns out for us.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay. The number to call is 706-863-5800 if you got a question about your car, truck, or SUV. And we would like to give a tech tip quiz.
All right.
And, of course, the tech tip quiz winner will receive a CNC Auto Show I Answer Detective Quiz golf shirt. That's not a T-shirt. That is a golf shirt, and it looks good.
Does it improve your golf game?
Yeah, it is really nice. And there's all these tournaments going on. If you just walk up to the gate and you have that shirt on, they'll wave you on through. Yeah.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, that's
to the back of a cop car.
Yeah, let me know how it works for you too. Okay, now here's the detective quiz. Billy owns a 2007 Chevrolet 1500 truck. Last Friday, he was heading up a very busy road on a very bad date that caused him to have an accident. How did it happen? And if anyone knows the answer to that, all you have to do is give us a call and we will be ready. Okay, now we are talking about towing. And one of the things that's important to towing is the tongue weight, the proper tongue weight. From what I'm reading and seeing, the proper tongue weight should be about 10 to 15% of the trailer's total weight.
Yep, that's right.
And when do you think that someone should use an equalizing type hitch? Under what circumstance?
If you have more than 10 to 15% of tongue weight. Yeah, I mean, that's really kind of the actual answer. It just depends how the load is situated and if it's a fixed load, meaning like, say if you were hauling a bobcat or a tractor or something like that, if you can physically move the load to put a little bit more weight on the rear to lose a little bit of the tongue weight. Of course, you want it perfectly balanced. You actually do want it to have tongue weight because that's how it actually pulls straight. So it just depends on what kind of load it is.
And what does the equalizing trailer hitch do?
It basically puts tension against the trailer hitch to where it will actually physically pull the weight back up. It puts tension in between the tongue of the trailer and the hitch of the vehicle.
Okay. And so there are a lot of certain circumstances, and that would have to do with more of a heavier type trailer.
Yeah, heavier
that may
trailer,
not
or
necessarily
travel trailer, camper, that kind of thing too.
Okay. And when someone is looking to install an equalizing hitch, there's no doubt that they should have things like trailer brakes and
absolutely.
And
if it's something that would require an equalizing hitch, it would definitely need brakes on it.
Okay,
sure.
So that's one tip. Know when you might need an equalizing type hitch on your vehicle to pull, and of course that goes in line with the next idea is to know what type hitch you should have for your vehicle,
right,
and know what type hitch you should have for what you will be pulling with your vehicle.
Yeah, and that's true because of course you can over hitch the vehicle, meaning that you can buy the biggest, baddest hitch they make, but your vehicle may only tow half of what it can handle.
Exactly. Okay, time to take a real quick break. When we return, we'll have more tips on towing, and also we'll be ready for your questions. 706-863-5800, 8:05 to 10 Eastern Time. We'll be right back after these messages.
Round, round, get around, I get around, yeah, get around, round, round, I get around, I get around, round, round, I get around.
That's right. We're back with the CNC Auto Show. Okay, if you got questions about your car or your truck or SUV, give us a call. That number, 706-863-5800. You can just lay it on us. And that's Saturday mornings, 8:05 to 10. You can also email a question, ccautoshow@gmail.com. And if you have a spring or summer trip plan, do not forget to have those belts and hoses checked. They're number one on the list of preventative breakdowns. And if you need belts or hoses, I recommend the best. That's Napa Hoses and Belts. Okay, John Ryan, let's talk about safety chains.
Very important.
Very, very important.
A friend of mine actually has a really nice, it's called a Mud Buddy boat, and his son's at the age to where he just loves anything with wheels on it. And he actually removed his hitch pin for him the other day.
Oh.
And the entire hitch, boat, and everything came out. So if it weren't for the safety chains, he could have had some serious damage.
Yes.
So,
Yeah,
but he couldn't get mad because, he was
Yeah.
just showing him how to hook it up.
I know someone that had a boat go down a busy intersection one time,
Oh,
or
yeah, I
a
remember
busy
that.
busy road.
Yep.
And it just went
Yep.
right down through there.
You got to have safety chains.
Now, what is recommended is that those chains be placed in an X.
That's right. Do you know why?
Well, now I'm going from what I understand. Now, I've always done that,
Well, I'll
but
tell you the
I've
reason
never known
why
why.
I
But I
know, yeah.
believe if it drops,
Yeah.
it would drop on them instead of dropping all the way to the pavement. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah, the tongue would, ideally drop on the chains itself instead of just going straight to the
Yeah,
ground.
and so and it kind of minimizes damage
Right.
To everything.
But it's also a good idea to kind of have that in mind when you're actually setting the length of the chains. A lot of times they're adjustable as far as where the hook or the D-ring goes. So keep that in mind. You want to have almost a cushion there as far as.
So with those chains crossed,
Yeah.
your hitch should almost touch the ground, but not touch the ground.
Exactly. Yeah.
That way you have plenty of room to turn.
That way you can still maneuver.
If you jackknife, you won't.
yeah, you won't be pulling it by the chain.
Yeah, you ready to go to the calls?
Yeah, let's go over to Calvin.
Let's do it. Hey, Calvin, welcome to the CNC Auto Show, and what can we help you with?
Good morning. I have an aggravating problem, and I guess all car problems are aggravating.
Man, we're gonna
I have
fix
a,
you. We can do it. I just got a feeling about this.
I hope so. I've got a 2005 Chevrolet
never
Colorado. I'm in trouble. Huh? I got a 2005 Chevrolet Colorado. It's blue. Not that has anything to do with it, but it may. Periodically, for no apparent reason, I'll turn it off, go into a business, come back outside, and it'll just turn over. So I sit there and wait about 10 minutes, cranks up, no problem. Took it to my local car repair guy, and then took it to a second one, and both of them had the same diagnosis. If it's not broke, I can't fix it. So what do we do?
You're going to have to get it painted.
That's what I thought. I was afraid of that.
How about red?
That would do it for sure. Calvin, it's funny, we actually get this call quite a bit on the radio show.
On blue cars.
Yeah, on just blue ones. What happens on those Colorados? It actually happened a lot on the Trailblazers and a lot of stuff that had that same security system. Just as you mentioned, you drive the vehicle, go to the gas station, get you a drink, come back out, and it won't start. And it basically thinks that the key is invalid, is what the parameter says in the scan tool. I'm surprised to see that they didn't see a history code. Now, keep in mind, some scan tools, depending on what level of diagnostics the shop has, won't go back into the section of the computer that has history codes. That's kind of one of the neat things about a lot of manufacturers. They have pending codes, which are codes that are kind of present and happening right now, and of course the light would come on. They have current codes, which are DTCs that are just stored, and then they have history codes. And in that particular vehicle, that module has that section, and it probably has a code in there that says theft deterrent enabled. And the reason why it takes 10 minutes is in the programming of that system from the factory. If it sees a key that it does not agree with, it puts it in lockout mode or theft mode for 10 minutes. You can cycle the key, come back in 10 minutes, it looks at the key again and starts right up. So, like I said, we've got that call a bunch. We've replaced a lot of those. Now, it would still be obviously a good idea to have it diagnosed. What a technician would do is put a scan tool in there. They would actually watch the data PIDs. So that same module actually has a lot of parameters for a technician to watch, like the key voltage, if the key's valid, if the security's in theft mode, and all that. And they could watch it and, of course, try and start it. And one of the things that a technician would look at is the actual resistance that key, the key itself doesn't have the chip in it, the ignition lock housing does. So they would look and wiggle the key and see if the resistance changes, because it should be a kind of a constant resistance every time you switch that key. And if you see 2.5 at one key cycle and you see 2.0 at one and 1.9 the next, you kind of get an idea that that's the fault.
Okay. So let me answer this, and this may sound like a really ignorant question, but could it be because the key's just getting worn out?
Unfortunately, with that type system, because the key doesn't have the chip in it itself, now no doubt, of course, that would cause it to hang a little bit and not operate as smoothly, but it wouldn't necessarily cause a security issue, because the sensor is actually inside the housing and the chip is in the ignition lock tumbler. But I guess if you want to look at it this way, since you already have this problem, you'd be getting a new key anyways.
Okay. So basically, all of this is in that that lock in that ignition assembly.
That's right. They call it ignition lock housing, and of course, it comes with the tumblers and the key and all that stuff.
Okay. So is this a tremendously expensive thing, or is it just something just annoyance?
No, it's not too bad. Aaron, do you remember what these housings runs?
I might
programming and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, might be wrong. I better not guess on that one.
Okay.
I might be too far off.
Calvin,
so
I'll say
it'd be cheaper than painting the truck.
Yes, much cheaper.
Okay, good. All right. Well, listen, I appreciate you guys. Y'all do a great job. Thank you so very much.
Calvin.
Thank you, Calvin. Okay, the number to call, 706-863-5800, and that's 8:05 to 10 Eastern. And it's time to take a quick break. We'll return right after these messages.
Sitting in the back of a long white Cadillac.
And we do welcome you back to the CNC Auto Show. If you have a question about your car, truck, or SUV, give us a call. That number, 706-863-5800. That's Saturdays, 8:05 to 10 Eastern. And that's any Saturday morning that you can name. And again, 706-863-5800. It is time for, what John Ryan?
Tailgate Talk.
Tailgate Talk. Dominic, what you got for us today?
Got some interesting tech news coming out. The new Bentley SUV is supposed to be getting a biometrically secured glove box. Something straight out of a James Bond film. You use your thumbprint to unlock the glove box.
Something else had that.
Yeah, I have heard that eventually they may have it to where you'll be able to open vehicles and start vehicles with a thumbprint, just like you would your cell phone.
Well, what I'm thinking of is it looks like a thumbprint scanner, but it's actually a button. It's not, it doesn't have the thumbprint logic in it or whatever.
When will they have the retina scan for you to be able to start your vehicle?
In my opinion, that's actually a safer item to use for biometric locks, because think about how often you leave your fingerprint laying around.
Yeah, that is true. Somebody could actually design a machine to where they could make your thumb print.
Well, a piece of Scotch tape does that.
Yeah. So, very, very good. So that's our Tailgate Talk.
That's all I got for you.
John Ryan?
What?
Very nice.
I don't sing or nothing.
Okay.
You ready to go to the phones?
Man, I'm ready to go to the phones. Let's do it.
All right, let's go over to David.
Hello, David, and welcome to the CNC Auto Show. What can we help you with?
I was going to try to solve the tech tip.
Hold on. We have to put you on stage. Okay, David, it's legal now. Let's do it.
All right. He was in traffic, late for his date. He was texting to tell her that he was late and had a boo-boo.
David, I tell you, that's not bad, but she was already in the car.
Oh.
Yeah, she was already there. But I tell you what, you are open for being able to answer again if another idea comes to you, because the reason I say that is you didn't legally have all of the information that you needed to make the decision and the answer that you wanted to make, so now you do.
Well, that was the only one that I had thought. But I listen to y'all every Saturday morning, and I really appreciate y'all's show.
Man, we thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
I had talked to you the other week about the diesel that had head gaskets put on.
Yeah.
And
the
it
7.3?
stopped, the engine stopped. Yeah.
And what he said, what had happened, the bolt had broken in holding the injector, and it had flooded the cylinder, and that's why the engine stopped.
Oh, wow. That can definitely happen.
Yeah. And that's a lot easier than some things that could happen.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very good.
Absolutely. All right. Well, appreciate y'all very much, Aaron.
We thank you for the call.
Yeah, thanks.
And for joining the show.
Appreciate it much. Bye.
All righty. John Ryan, what I was going to mention to the gentleman a little earlier, that he said his key wouldn't start. He got in his vehicle.
Oh,
yeah, and he had to wait 10 minutes. You know what that reminded me of? Like 10 minutes sitting in a car waiting for something to go.
Right.
It's kind of like getting put in a penalty box at the fast food restaurant. You ever been there? When they tell you, when they say, could you pull forward and wait there?
Oh, yeah.
That's the penalty box.
That's painful.
Yeah, and they forget you. You go
What's
up there.
funny, too, is then, pull up for your fries, and you're expecting them to be on fire because you're waiting for them. Well, 4 cars have passed you, and then you get the cold fries.
You finally walk inside.
Yeah.
So where's my food? And the way we're tying this in with cars is there should be a law against that, because we're trying to conserve fuel and conserve the environment by not letting so many fumes go into the atmosphere. And then people get put into the penalty box, and they're just sitting there with the vapors going up into the atmosphere and burning extra fuel, increasing their carbon footprint while they're out there waiting for their food.
So Sonic has a little bit more carbon footprint than, say, like a restaurant.
Mine wasn't Sonic the other day, but I finally had to get out and go in. Okay.
That also reminds me of when you've bought biscuits for the radio show, paid for biscuits, and then just drove on out.
I did.
With no biscuits.
I just left.
But that was your donation for the day.
I don't know what was on my mind. I just paid for the biscuits and drove off.
She's probably said, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we're talking about towing. We're talking about vehicles. One of the things that's very important when the towing is to make sure that the right air pressure is there, or the proper tire pressure is there.
Right.
And a lot of it sort of depends on what you're towing, but in many cases you may want to look on the tire and find out what the maximum tire pressure would be. Yeah. Maximum load pressure.
If you're towing the maximum
capacity. If you are towing a maximum capacity. But that's something that there's a little bit of a gray area. You want to look at the door and see what the vehicle's designed to run as far as tire pressure, and you might want to increase it a little bit, but don't ever go above what the maximum load tire pressure would be on that's wrote down on the tire. Yeah. And a
lot of medium duty and heavy duty vehicles, of course, have a placard inside the door that says, normal driving situations and a towing situation.
Oh, okay. So I hadn't noticed that. But the reason that's so important when you're towing, and especially on a hot day, you're going to build up a lot more heat if you do have a tire that's lower in pressure. It can build up heat. It can separate on the inside. And I tell you, it's not good news to have a flat while you're towing something.
No, definitely.
Bad news.
Definitely
okay, where are we going?
Let's go over to Glenn.
Hello, Glenn, and welcome to the CNC Auto Show. And what can we help you with?
Yes, sir. I have a 99 Ford F-250 with a Power-Stroke diesel. And here about a month ago, I was it's a standard shift truck, and I was shifting gears, and all of a sudden I lost all of my my pedal control. I couldn't rev the engine up or do anything, and I shifted gears, and it went right on in, and I got my throttle control back. It done that a couple of times, just momentarily, and then it quit. Did all right then for 2 or 3 weeks. And the other day I got in the truck to start it, and none of the gauges would work. I had no throttle response whatsoever, but the truck would start and idle. But I couldn't get no throttle response, or none of the gauges would work. And so I shut the truck back off, and I came back out. I don't know, I think it was the next day. Got in it, turned the switch on. Weight light come on, all my gauges come on, truck fired up, throttle response was good. I was just wondering if this was a computer problem or what kind of problem it was.
Glenn, when the instrument panel didn't light up as far as all the gauges and everything, did the odometer that you noticed? That one's got the little digital odometer, or is it the gauge with that actual analog?
I got the analog.
You do? Okay. I was just curious because there's two different clusters that can be in that. It's got a little digital like CRT screen or whatever, and then there's the regular analog one. It almost sounds like two separate problems. It does seem odd that they're kind of happening at the same time. One common thing is the instrument clusters on both the options that they have. The cluster is what's called a HEC, a hybrid electronic cluster. It has some memory in it that it basically it's part of the communication system on the vehicle that communicates with the ABS, of course, the PCM or the engine's computer, and basically any module that's on the vehicle. And the reason for that is because, for instance, the ABS sensors, read the wheel speed, obviously, and basically tell the cluster how fast it's going so that the speedometer works. So we've seen a lot of those clusters fail. There's a lot of tests that need to be performed when that cluster is actually acting up to see if it's getting all the powers and grounds and, of course, the circuitry that it requires to work. The other one, as far as the throttle response, that vehicle doesn't obviously have a throttle cable anymore that actually links, your foot to a throttle body or anything like that, being diesel. So it has a sensor on the side of the throttle, or the accelerator pedal, and it actually, of course, reads a voltage, and of course, low voltage would be idle, and high voltage would be wide open throttle, and those sensors do fail. Normally, there's actually a trouble code that stores in the history section of that vehicle that would, of course, tell a technician that that's a faulty sensor.
Okay. Would this be something that you could put on your diagnostic machine and maybe get a little better picture of it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I may bring that thing over to you and let you check it out for me.
That sounds good. Well, hope that helps.
All right, sir. Appreciate it.
Great call. Thank you, Glenn. And we are ready to take a real quick break. And when we return, we'll be looking for your phone call, 706-863-5800. That's Saturdays, 8:05 to 10 Eastern. We'll be right back after these messages.
Slow down, Jaguar. Keep cool as Thunderbird 4. 10-mile stretch on the Indiana road when a Sky Blue Jaguar and a Thunderbird 4.
And we definitely would like to welcome you back to the CNC Auto Show. You can give us a call, 706-863-5800. That's Saturday mornings, 8:05 to 10 Eastern. Spark plugs in modern cars last longer than ever before, but they do wear out. And when they do, it places extra stress on other ignition parts, and some of those parts can be expensive. So you don't really want to wait until the plugs are worn and then things start falling down like dominoes, just boom, 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 because then you can get into a lot of stuff, a lot of major stuff. You want to change those plugs when the factory recommends that you should replace those. It's usually a mileage that they'll give of when they recommend it, and that's all over the board. Most of them are fairly long. I do see some still as low as 60,000 miles.
Right.
A lot of them's on up there around 70, some 80, 90.
A lot of people ask, could I replace them early? And really, there's no problem with replacing them early.
Yeah.
But the idea behind how well they're made and the interval is now where they're located requires a lot of parts to come off. Some vehicles, the intake manifold has to come off. So, if it was one that was a V6 or V8 and it's real easy to get to if you want to replace them early, sure, absolutely. But if it's one that half the engine has to come apart and you're wanting to change them at 50 and the interval's 100, I would wait closer to the 100 myself.
I would.
But,
and if you use, and when you replace the plugs, get the best. I love NGK spark plugs.
I do too.
They're absolutely fantastic. I've used them even in my motorcycles when I was a
That's the
teenager.
only thing in a motorcycle for me.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
Okay, we're ready to go to the calls?
Yeah. I even know the part number. BR5ES. Yeah, let's go over to Jim.
Wow, where'd you dig that from? Hey, Jim, welcome to the show. And
How are you doing this morning?
Doing good. What can we help with?
I have a Ford Excursion with a V10 gas engine in it, and I'm thinking about towing my trailer up into the mountains.
Ooh, do you own a gas
I
station?
understand we lose a percentage of energy. Whenever we go, say, 1,000 feet, you lose 5% or something like that. say I hit the Colorado mountains and I'm doing 10,000 feet. How much power do you lose when you're going up like that?
That is correct. Of course, everything you said is correct. What kind of changes that is the car actually, believe it or not, knows that. It actually has a sensor on it. You said 03?
Yes.
So, yeah, that has a mass airflow sensor that actually calculates that through, a series of sensors. It kind of gets information from all over the engine, and it can actually calculate the altitude.
Mm-hmm. And mainly what it's looking at is looking at the amount of airflow that's coming in and the temperature of the air that's there.
Makes a calculation.
And then it can calculate the air density from there. And also, does that one sense the barometric pressure?
It doesn't have a baro sensor, but it would through the calculation of it.
Do that. Mm-hmm.
So that does mean that I lose about 5% every 1,000 feet?
That would.
Yeah, that sounds about right, Jim, just mainly because of the calculations. I know that, a lot of people used to say, and there was one specific manufacturer, I wish I could remember what it was. It was in a training class that didn't have a constant calculation going. It was on key cycle. That's how it would calculate. So that I think that was a Chrysler, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, a lot of cars did years back. They used to only calculate the barometric pressure if you cut the car off and back on. Because the
if you drove from here
quiz
to there,
many years ago was that a person drove to the mountains, drove to Denver without cutting the car off, and got there and the car wouldn't hardly run until they stopped and cut the car off or something.
Okay.
But yeah, it does calculate that barometric pressure. But no matter what, you still do lose some because, of course, the air is less dense in there. And I don't know if there's a exact number on that, but I'd say 5% is probably pretty accurate.
Okay, I appreciate your kindness.
Well,
all right.
We thank you very much. That is a good thing to do for us to do a little research on, because I've never really thought about that. Now, of course, the big question is if you had a vehicle that had a turbo.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Turbo cars, especially in the drag industry, it's totally different.
Yeah, you lose very little. Okay, we're ready?
Yeah, let's go to Bobby.
Hey, Bobby, welcome to the CNC Auto Show, and what can we help you with?
Hey, guys, y'all were talking earlier about spark plugs. I got a 2016 Toyota Tacoma four-wheel drive. I love it. I've always owned Toyotas all my life. I went in to have my oil changed at 30,000 miles. They told me I needed spark plugs changed. So I looked the owner's manual, and sure enough, I cannot figure out why. You guys may help me. Why in the world would you have to change spark plugs on a Toyota every 30,000 miles?
Bobby, the manual said 30,000 miles also?
Yes. Yes.
And which engine's in this?
And
one?
it was
4-liter?
No, it's a V6, and they said just for this particular year, the 2016
Oh, that's right.
Toyota just went to do something and tried something else, and after that, they didn't try it anymore. So I guess my question is, when I go to get my spark plug changed at 40,000, can I upgrade to like the Iridium plug or what?
I'm not sure that I would go to Iridium. Iridiums are pretty higher price plugs, but you could consider a platinum plug, either a single platinum or a double platinum plug, and no doubt they would move it on up there.
I just have a hard time believing that it's got
I
copper
do
core
too.
in it.
I have never.
Dominic, what are you pulling up for our information? As you were talking, Dominic was looking up on one of our information sites as far as scheduled maintenance record.
Maintenance table that I was pulling up said 120,000.
That's what I thought they were.
Yeah, that's what I've always
used
mine. Mine. I looked it up in the book, and it's every 30,000 miles.
Well, I do always like to go by what the book says. Now, if the plugs are fairly easy to replace, in other words, they're not under an intake or something like that where you have to take a whole lot, I'm not sure that I wouldn't put the exact same plugs back in, because there's a lot of design that goes into all that. But if they are a little bit difficult, I would consider doing some research. But with that, more than likely going with either a single platinum, which would increase it to about 60,000 miles, or a double platinum, which would increase it to about a 90. And consider one of those two. But that is an unusual case that you have there, Bobby.
Yeah.
Dominic's
That's
actually
when y'all
trying to
struck a
find us.
nerve.
Dominic's trying to find us a part number of what the standard would be. Did
What-
you find anything,
yeah,
Dominic?
Yeah, spark
The guy
plug I'm coming up with is a Denso 3491
Iridium plug, yeah.
Yeah. So that makes me wonder,
Bobby,
though,
is this something you plan to do by yourself, or are you going to take it in?
No. The Toyota, people.
Yeah.
Like I say, I was a 30,000-mile oil change, and she called me back at the house and said, hey, also it's time for your plugs to be changed out. I said, no, what?
Well, the only
I've
reason
never-
I asked
every-
is if you were going to do it yourself and you pull it out and it says Iridium, I would definitely, put those back in or put that one back in.
No, no, I'm not going to do it, man. It's something they can do. But anyway,
I believe
like
I'd go with what they say. I lean toward just going
Yeah.
back with what they tell you to put back in there in the boat.
All right, brother. I appreciate it.
Bobby, last thing.
Enjoy the show.
Ask them to
Yes,
check
sir.
for bulletins to make sure there has not been an updated bulletin on spark plugs on there, just to be on the safe side.
I'll do it. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank
Thanks,
you, Bobby. Okay, we are about out of time, and the time clock's on E. We want to ask the callers. We missed some callers, but hopefully they'll either stay on the line or call us back during the next hour. And we need to pull over for now, but we'll be back on the road in no time. I'm Aaron Clements with co-host John Ryan Mooney, and our show producers are Dominic Frito and Sandy Klein, technical engineer Zach Llewellyn. We'd all like to say thank you for tuning in to the CNC Auto Show. And hello, all of you wonderful car lovers out there, and welcome to the CNC Auto Show. I am Aaron Clements.
I'm John Ryan.
And our goal today is to give you some smoking information that will make your car, truck, or SUV safer, to make it more dependable, make it last longer for less money and less hassle. I want to say thank you to all of you that tuned in and logged in, and a big thank you to those wonderful people there listening on WRLA AM 1490 West Point, Georgia, and we do appreciate you jumping on board and riding with us in the CNC Auto Show. We're here to take phone calls at 706-863-5800, and that's Saturday mornings 8:05 to 10. You can also email questions at ccautoshow@gmail.com. You can watch the show live on Facebook at CNC Auto Show. And this show is brought to you in part by Napa Heating and Cooling Systems and NGK Spark Plugs. They are great products. And John Ryan, are we ready to roll?
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay, we're gonna mention what the show is about first, and that is to do with towing. We'll be giving a lot of tips on towing vehicles, safety tips also, and that along with just a lot of other great information. But before we do that, we like to go to our number one thing that we like to do, and that's phone calls. Where are we going?
All right, let's go to John.
Hello, John, and welcome to the CNC Auto Show.
Good morning. I got a question for you.
We are ready for you.
I stopped and got gas 2 days ago, and when I got back in the car on my Durango, I had no dash lights. The brake pedal, you push it down to start. It was locked up solid, wouldn't move. The push the start button wouldn't move. The only thing that worked was the doors. And I sat there and I pushed the button, 4 or 5 times, and after about a couple, 3 minutes, it finally started up and it's okay. And my question is, any idea what caused that? And number 2, would it have set a code so they can check it?
It's very possible it could have set a code, John. One thing that a lot of the auto manufacturers are having issues with is and I'm not saying this is what happened, but just to let you know it could happen, is say somebody's at a drive-through, we were talking about that earlier, and the vehicle was off and they were pressing the brakes while the vehicle was off. It actually uses up all the vacuum assist in the pedal. So now the pedal is firm, just hard as a rock. And what happens is, being that a lot of manufacturers have gone to just the push button start, when you press the brake and you're trying to start it, you're not pressing it hard enough now because the pedal is firm. It never realizes that the brake switch has been applied, so it doesn't even think that you're trying to start the vehicle. So hopefully it won't happen again, but one thing to try would be really, stand firm on the brakes and see if it automatically just kicks on. I don't know if you've heard of that, Aaron. It was a Consumer Report thing.
I hadn't really heard of it, but I can see how that would happen.
Yeah, because of course once you use the vacuum assist, that pedal you just about have to stand on with 2 feet.
Yeah. And you're used to just barely having to touch it and it start.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's a situation that could have possibly happened, John. But yes, if it was something electronically, ideally, hopefully, one of the computers caught an issue with that system, and of course, stored a code. What would be recommended on that vehicle is an all vehicle DTC scan, where it would actually go through every module in the vehicle and see if there's any codes in there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, great. Well, thanks a lot, guys.
John, thank you very much for the call. And the number to call, 706-863-5800. That Saturday morning is 805-210. John Ryan, it looks like we may have a trailer, either a tip on trailers.
Okay.
But let's go there.
All right, let's go over to Ken.
Hey, Ken,
Hello.
Welcome to the CNC Auto Show, and what can we help with?
Well, actually, it's not a tip. I've got a question. I've heard when you're getting trailer tires mounted that you shouldn't spend the money to get them balanced. That was a waste of money. Is that true?
Ken, I have a kind of biased opinion because, of course, I have a balancer readily available. But honestly, I disagree with that just because, it's something round, it's spinning at high speed. It really makes, to me, no sense not to balance them. Generally when you're, of course, mounting them, it's just one more step. Yeah, it's a little bit more money, but it definitely just betters the tire, really. It completes the circle, I guess is the right way to say it.
And that's if you're towing something like a boat or a trailer. Now, if you're just pulling around a little small trailer that you're just using it to haul stuff around town in, you may not, you wouldn't be hitting highway speeds. I don't think I would spend that, but something that's going at highway speeds, I agree with John Ryan. I believe I would have it balanced.
And Ken, a lot of people say that it's not necessarily needed just because, of course, it's the weight, that's on it. It's holding the tire down. Well, so does a car, but we balance car tires. The odd tire, odd trailer tire, it could need balancing. So, and a lot of times, every time I've put a trailer tire on a balancer, it definitely required weight. So that's just kind of why we always recommended it.
All right. Well, awesome. I appreciate your expertise.
All right. Thanks for the call.
Y'all have a great day.
Question to Ken. John Ryan, I might be wrong, but a friend of mine, Dylan, is on the phone, and he is in, he moved to Florida.
Oh, wow.
And
are you going to be sad if this isn't the Dylan you're talking about?
We'll find out.
All right, let's go over to him.
Dylan, welcome to the CNC Auto Show.
Well, good morning from beautiful Tampa, Florida. How are you guys?
Oh, doing good. We appreciate the call, Dylan. We had talked a while back about an AC issue you had, and I think you have that going. And I want to apologize. You had sent in a message yesterday on asking about a radiator, and I looked at it last night, and I said I did not reply to Dylan yet.
Dylan, I had nothing to do with that.
Well, that's okay. I've always got about 2 or 3 questions going with Aaron. So we're actually we're on 75 right now, heading for Disney World this morning. And my wife said, there's this sound that the van's been making, and it's a little different. And I said, well, I think the CNC Auto Show is actually on the radio right now. Why don't we just call in from the road?
Perfect.
And ask our questions. But I did want to say that you gave me some advice last week because the air conditioning in our van went out. And I said, well, Aaron, is there anything I can do just before I take it in and spend a bunch of money and maybe even a new compressor? And you said, well, check under the hood, check the relay. And so I did that, and I swapped out the relays, and it started blowing cold air. So I just wanted to thank you for that. A $1,000 problem turned into a $6 problem. So
That's great.
Nice.
Well, Dylan, the other question, this will give me a chance. John Ryan might be able to help us with that.
Right.
What year model is your Grand Am that you're thinking about changing the radiator in? And John Ryan, here's what we had. Dylan was wondering if the radiator was one that he could change out on the Grand Am, but I remembered something that made that model Grand Am a little bit harder. What year model was that again, Dylan?
Yeah, that was an 04.
04 Grand Am radiator.
And you know which engine's in it?
Yeah, it's the 6-cylinder 3.4, I think.
Okay. Yeah, the only thing that's a little bit tricky is the condenser bolts to the front of it, but you don't have to take it out. It's just a little bit tricky to kind of navigate the radiator out. The fans have to come off the front of it. It does have transmission lines going to it, and you have to have a little special tool to actually disengage the transmission lines, Dylan. But it's a very inexpensive tool Napa would have. It's just a little, they call them Jiffy Tight connectors. It's a little tool to disconnect them. But yeah, I think that's something you could take
with
care
that.
of.
Then Dylan, I believe you could do it. Dylan does a lot of his stuff, and he calls from time to time.
Yeah,
and I believe you could do that. But I was just making sure that wasn't one of those that had this major part of the front end that had to come off.
I'm gonna test my memory. Dylan also used to have a Mitsubishi Galant.
Whoa!
Yes, I did.
It was white.
It was
Wow.
white.
I did change the radiator on that. So I wanted
Well,
to
if you
see
can
if
do it
the
in that
Grand
one, I
Am
think you
was-
can do it in the Grand Am.
That's what I needed to hear. So I also understand that it has some AC lines associated with this. But is there anything I need to have in mind for that?
It does have some AC lines, but that's what I was talking about. A lot of people like to disconnect it, and if you're at an automotive repair shop, sometimes it's better to disconnect, take it out as an assembly. But being that, of course, you probably don't have an AC machine, you can navigate it out. It's just a little bit tricky. Just definitely use some patience with
Be
it.
careful not to nick anything.
Okay, so I'm not disconnecting the AC lines?
I
or
would
am
not.
disconnecting them?
No, you would not
Okay.
disconnect them. No.
Okay, perfect. You guys have time for a van question? real
Yeah,
quick?
can you hold just 1 second through a break?
Yeah, sure.
All right, we'll be right back with you. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Old half-ton short bed Ford my uncle bought new in '64. Daddy got it right 'cause the engine was smoking.
And we are back with you with the CNC Auto Show, and this segment is brought to you by Napa Heating and Cooling Systems. And we trust Napa Heating and Cooling System products, and you should also. They fit, they last, they're good. You just can't beat them. And been using them for many, many years. Another thing we're going to go back to is
Dylan.
Dylan, welcome back to the show.
Thanks. I appreciate you guys giving me some time this morning. I have
Well,
one more question about
we will answer the question as you and your family are on the way to Disney World.
And I'm trying to remember, I'm just a caller, not a guest this morning, so I don't want to monopolize all the time. for the
But just
callers.
real quick, what type ride is it? How long does it take to get from your house to Disney World?
About an hour and 15 minutes if the traffic's good.
Very nice. Okay.
So it's not too shabby.
Not bad at all. Okay, what can we
enjoy
what's
it.
the question?
Well, it's a 2009 Honda Odyssey, and we've started noticing recently that there's been some noise, like a whining sound, especially in the morning when it's cold. And it sounds to me, I don't know, like it's, when you're turning the wheel, kind of sounds like a power steering thing going on. And as the van heats up and as you drive it a little while, it kind of settles out a little bit. It's not so loud.
Right.
But wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Dylan, that's describing, or that problem is, we hear a lot, especially when the ambient temperature is a little bit lower. There's two common things that happen on it. Well, I'm going to say three common things. I'm going to give you the cheapest.
Dylan's going to like this first one. I know you're going to mention this.
I'm going to give him the cheapest.
He'll like this.
Cheapest one first. Yeah. There's an O-ring that is on the power steering pump on the suction side of it. It's actually where the pump pulls the fluid from the little reservoir. And what happens is that O-ring gets just a little bit smaller because the ambient temperature is, of course, cooler, and it can actually pull air in. So you never really see fluid leak out because it's on the suction side. It's drawing the fluid in and air at the same time, and it aerates the fluid. As you drive the vehicle, it warms up. That O-ring swells a little bit, seals the void. Air starts working out of the system. Probably by the time you get to Disney World, it'll be quiet, won't it?
Right, you got it.
And then in the morning, it'll be loud again. That's definitely the cheapest
And that
one.
is definitely a special O-ring.
They
make it just for that reason, this special O-ring that you get.
Yep.
Now, that particular one you'll probably have to get from the dealer because of it being an upgraded
specific part,
one. And I think there's even a bulletin on that thing to address. It may or may not be. But anyway, Dylan, John Ryan's right. I've seen that repair that issue many times. All right, what's the second one, John?
The second one, unfortunately, the pumps. I would say, I don't know, 50%.
Dylan don't want to hear that one.
Yeah, we're going to rule it out. But let's just say the other two possibilities. that are least likely would be the power steering pump. But there's also a little screen in the reservoir of the, of course, the power steering fluid where you fill it up, Dylan. There's a screen in the bottom of that. And if for some reason that screen was restricted or something like that, it would be starving it for fluid. But again, that's I don't know, 10% of the time. I would say probably 90% of the time it's that O-ring.
Great.
All
That's what I want to hear, the O-ring.
All right,
Yeah.
Dylan, last question for you. What part of Disney World are you going to?
We will be at Hollywood Studios this time.
All right,
The
fantastic.
great thing about living in a destination is, you have friends and family who come to Orlando a lot, so we're able to drive over there and meet them and enjoy some time with some folks. So we don't really have a lot of desire to take vacations because we kind of lived in one.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to tell John Ryan I'm going to visit Dylan.
Please do. Oh, we would love it. We love having guests. Yeah, please do. That's an open invitation for the CNC gang.
Fantastic.
Hey, this power steering, is this something I need to take care of right away, or is it critical?
Probably the sooner the better,
go?
Dylan, because if there's air in that system, of course the pump doesn't like the air. It's cavitated fluid, so I would definitely try and replace it. And that, without question, you can do. I know you can do that part. One thing I would say, just a tip, when you do replace that O-ring and fill the system back up, it'd be great if you could jack the vehicle up to where the front wheels are suspended, no weight on them, and turn the vehicle back and forth, left to right, full lock to full lock, without the vehicle on. That will actually purge all that air out of there to prevent any dry starts from the fluid, being out of it from the replacement. So
that's a great tip. I would not have known that.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for all your time.
Yeah,
Thank you, Dylan, and we do appreciate your call, too.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.
Have a great time. Okay, number 706-863-5800. John Ryan, let's go to Otis and
put him on, maybe put him on.
Yeah,
hold.
let's do that.
All right.
Otis, welcome to the show. We did not want to lose you, so we figured that if we went ahead and got you on the line and tied you up, we might be able to
hook.
Yeah, we might be able to talk you into holding. Give us a preview of your question so that we can be thinking about it during the break.
Okay, and good morning, first of all. I've got a 2005 E250 Ford van, and the left front wheel has got a vibration in it. I took it to one of the best Ford dealers in town, and they did everything they could, and the vibration is still there, and I'm just frustrated trying to figure out what it is.
Otis, what speed does it do it at, and does it do it whether you're accelerating or coasting? Just a few details on how it does.
And a little bit of information about what makes you think it's left front, just out of curiosity.
I think it's left front because I can kind of feel it in my feet.
I thought you were going to say you see it when you hang your head out the window.
It starts at about somewhere around 50, 55 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it's, we've done everything that we could think of. I've done some work myself, and like I said, I took it to one of the best Ford dealers in town.
Right.
And they did everything they knew to do. And it kind of quieted down a little bit, but, at the higher speeds, it still vibrates.
Otis, do you feel it in the steering itself? Does the steering wheel oscillate, or do you feel it in your seat? Where do you kind of feel it? I know you said your feet, but does the steering wheel shake at all?
No, I don't feel it in the steering wheel. I just, like I say, feel it in my feet. And
well, that'll give us enough time to think about it.
Otis, we got the information, and we're gonna confer on all this during the break. And if you'll hold, we'll be right back, and we'll give you some suggestions and some ideas. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll return. We'll be going straight back to Otis as soon as we return. And we are back with you with the CNC Auto Show. We normally have little Nerf gun fights during the breaks, and we did. And I think I think the producer popped
He
John
fell
Ryan
out
going.
is what happened.
Yeah, he did. Hey, we were talking to Otis. Let's go back and talk to Otis.
All right, we're back on with him.
Otis, we are back with you, and we are talking about your vibration. And we did do a little research as we were doing our little Nerf gun fight.
We did?
Well, I was trying to be nice.
So Otis, the vibration, like you said, it seems to be, from what you can tell, in the left front. You kind of feel it resonate more so on the driver's side. Just going to ask kind of a series of questions just to kind of rule out what you've done. Have you tried rotating the tires? Sounds simple, but just to see if it...
That was my first question I was going to ask, too.
Yeah, we've done that, even put on new tires, shocks, new brakes, changed the rotors, bearings.
Okay.
Just everything we could think of, even had the drive shaft checked.
Oh, wow. How about ball joints, just out of curiosity?
Well, from what the shop I took it to said there was nothing wrong with the ball joints.
Okay. One thing I'll mention, and this could be in the right area, it could not be. We'll just use this as just information. Ball joints can be tricky to actually check, especially now it sounds like you took it to a very good shop, so I'm pretty positive they would have checked them this way. On that particular vehicle, the wheels actually need to be suspended. However, the trick is they need to be suspended by the suspension components. And what I mean by that is you need to physically jack the vehicle up by the outermost portion of the suspension. So if you can picture that vehicle, the way it's got the of course the axle beam and the control arms and all that, if you could jack it up and then you actually use a pry bar to go from the ground to the bottom of the tire to contact the tire and pick up and down on it. Because what can happen is with the weight on the vehicle, say if the upper ball joint was bad, it's actually going to put weight on the upper ball joint because, of course, it's pushing in towards the vehicle at that point if it had some play in it. And as you hit a bump or just the road, imperfections or whatever, it can actually cause that ball joint to go in and out towards the vehicle, outside the vehicle, and that could cause a vibration too. That's if you again feel it more so just on one side. So that would be something to look at. What you got, Aaron? Anything else?
I was just going to ask,
without riding in it, of course.
One of the things that we do, Otis, in checking for a vibration. Now, of course, if it's coming from the front, you wouldn't be able to tell anything. But just to try to isolate it a little bit more toward the front, has anyone jacked the rear of it up, the rear wheels off the ground slightly, and then ran the vehicle at certain speeds to find out if they feel any vibration in the drivetrain of the vehicle?
I don't know. They didn't say anything about that.
That's what we normally do because, see, on the front,
that kind of cuts the vehicle in half. It's either back or forward.
Yeah, there's no way to spin the wheels by hand on the front at up to 55 miles an hour, so you can't do anything about that part of it. But on the rear, you can jack the rear up. And now, of course, we have a special rack that we use that on because we block the front wheels, and then jack it up in the rear.
Right.
And then you just get somebody to hold the brake, put it in gear, accelerate to that speed, see if you feel the vibration. And then, of course, it's really important to make sure that the vehicle, you put your foot on the brake and put it in neutral before cutting the car off.
Right.
But in doing that, you're eliminating you're isolating whether it's
like
the
I said,
front or the
cutting it in
rear.
half, yeah.
Exactly, cutting it in rear. I would recommend them running that. The best rack to do that on is an alignment rack. So if they do that, and they may have already done it, they may have just didn't mention it to you. But then if it does turn out to be the front wheels after that, you've done more of the common things that I mentioned. So just going after the things that John Ryan mentioned on checking the suspension system would be the only other item that I'd be able to think of.
And the follow-up item would be as far as the tie rods and drag link. Just like I mentioned, the vehicle needed to be suspended on a lift rack but lifted by the suspension so that you could check that. However, the drag link and the tie rod ends on that vehicle, it's actually better to check with the full weight on it, just as if it was in your driveway. What you would do is, of course, get somebody to lay up under there with a flashlight so they can watch all the joints, and then have somebody inside of it just barely move the steering wheel back and forth and just look for the loss of motion. And a lot of times, even something that simple could be found, in your driveway.
And last thing, Otis, did you say that this was at it went to a Ford dealership?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They ask them if they've done this. Ford invested in a newer vibration monitor machine, and I was thinking that most of the Ford dealerships had to get one. I looked at them, and I just didn't know how well they worked, so we didn't purchase one.
Yeah. Well, we went with the chassis ears instead.
Yeah, we have the chassis ears so where you can put microphones all around it and listen to noises, but there's supposed to be a vibration detector that where they can place vibration detectors around the vehicle. That would be something that would be helpful in that situation. I've just never seen one used, and I just didn't know if it would be a good investment or not. So you may ask them about that, but also ask them, did they do the isolation part to make sure that it's the front or the rear?
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks a bunch, guys. You've been a big help.
Thank you, Otis, and
hey,
good
Otis,
luck.
Yeah, please update us on that too if you do find something or anything like that. We always like to know if we're in the right area.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you.
Especially that vibration dampener. I would love to know more on how that how that works. I've been interested in that for a while.
All right, let's go straight to Kirby if we could.
Let's do it. Hello, Kirby, and welcome to the CNC Auto Show.
Hello, guys. How y'all this morning?
Very well.
Aaron's stinging a little bit.
Yeah. I got hit with a Nerf gun, Kirby, but I'm ready for you. What can we help with?
Well, Otis's question kind of sparked my interest in a problem I'm having with a 2005 Camry.
Okay.
Mine's a little different, and I feel the vibration at low speeds when I'm not accelerating, and maybe the roads are just a touch rough. Not real bumpy, but, they got a little bit of bump in them. And it almost feels like something's loose down there. I can feel a little bumping down on the, in the front end.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if that's an indication of like ball joints or something, or if there's something else I should be looking at. I put it up on a lift. I got a lift at the house, and I try to shake everything under there. I can't find anything that seems loose, and that's what it feels like when if you're going slow,
right,
and not accelerating, like in a parking lot as you coast a little bit.
Yeah,
you can feel it.
Kirby, does the steering wheel shake side to side when this happens?
Yeah, you can feel a little bit in there too.
Kurt, what you're describing actually sounds more like a separated tire, and it doesn't have to be separated very much for this. A tire, if you pictured looking at the tire from forward position like you were looking at the tread, if the tread actually goes left and right, it will, of course, the steering wheel will follow that. So I would look really, really close at the tires and see if they're straight. One thing, since you have a lift rack, if you could, of course, lift it up, get somebody to kind of go around that same area and look at the tires very closely. Because that's a common thing. You don't necessarily feel it at higher speeds because, of course, the tire is rotating fast enough to where it doesn't necessarily follow the track of the tire. And of course, if it did have a separated tire, you would feel that. And of course, it could feel like a bumping sensation because of the tire being out around.
And then sometimes even when it's sitting on the ground, you can just lightly rub your hand around it. But be careful, because sometimes if for some reason you didn't see it and steel is coming out somewhere on the tire, it can
cut you pretty bad.
Yeah, it can puncture you. But but running your hand around it, sometimes you can feel it if it's bad enough.
Okay, I'll check that. How about flipping the tires front to back with that? And if it goes away, would it go away?
Yeah, absolutely. That would be one way to just confirm it. Now, if one does separate, kind of like what we're talking about, you should be able to visually see it. And two, do just what you mentioned, switch them to the back, but don't forget about them, because that tire definitely does have an issue.
Okay, and I did fail to mention one other little issue. Sometimes when I step on the brakes kind of hard when I'm coming to a corner, I wasn't sure if it was maybe my anti-lock brake system. I just feel it different, but it'll feel a little bit almost the same way, like a little bit of thumping in there.
That's possible, but if you're kind of heavy on the brakes at that time, it could be the rotors are out around and are pulsating. That's possible too.
Okay, what the inverters?
The actual brake rotors themselves.
Oh, the rotors.
Yeah,
okay.
The rotors, when they get a little deflection or a run out in them, you under heavy braking, you can actually feel it, because those brake pads are really trying to grab hold to them, and of course the rotors are actually deflecting, and of course you feel that throughout the steering.
Warpage.
Yeah.
A little warpage? Okay, because, I mean, I don't have any squealing or any problems, and the brakes seem to work fine. Just when it has to be like, say I'm doing 40 and I kind of come up on my turn a little quicker than I expected, and I hit them a little good. Not slamming them on the floor, but just a little more than normal. I can feel a little vibration in that, too.
Yeah, that in itself won't hurt anything. Just had the brakes checked and make sure. And we do appreciate it. We're going to need to take a real quick break. We'll be right back.
Driving all night, my hands wet on the wheel. There's a voice in my head that drives my heel. It's my baby calling.
All right, we're going to shift this thing into sixth gear with the CNC Auto Show. Give us a call, 706-863-5800, 805 to 10 Saturdays. And spark plugs in modern cars do last a long, long time, but we talked about it a little earlier. Eventually they wear out. When they wear out, they can take very expensive things with it. Look at your owner's manual, get an idea when they're due, and have them replaced very close to that time, and it'll save you some money in the long run, and plus help your fuel mileage and just make the vehicle run better.
Right.
Okay, we will be going to Susan in just a minute, but something very important we have to do real quick is that would be the Tailgate Talk with Dominic. What we got?
There was a new study that was just released by the Royal Automotive Club, which is the British equivalent of the AAA over here, that says that new headlight technology, while improving nighttime visibility, is actually making it worse for oncoming drivers.
I'll agree with that. Yeah, that's true.
For sure.
I mean, have you ever rounded a hill and looked like a 747 landing right in front of you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and if it's John Ryan coming around the hill,
that's John Ryan's truck. He's the one that he comes out fine. Yeah, he can see. He would be able to light up the stadium at the ball field.
Hey, you need to be seen, you know.
Yeah. So that's our Tailgate Talk.
Yep, that's all I got for you.
All right. It can't end without that. Okay, now it is time to talk to Susan.
All right.
And Susan, welcome to the CNC Auto Show, and what can we help you with?
Hi, guys. I want to do a tech tip.
Whoa! Wow, fantastic.
I think you should read it first, Aaron.
All right. We will read that tech tip quiz, and here we go.
Set both y'all up on stage.
All right. Oh, all right. Susan, I'm right there with you, so we are ready. We're both standing on stage and both looking at the lights, and they're bright and all that good stuff. And the crowd is out there. I've painted the picture for you. All right, Billy owns a 2007 Chevrolet 1500 truck. Last Friday night, he was heading up a very busy road on a very bad date that caused him to have an accident. How did it happen? Here we go.
I think I'm okay. I didn't catch the Friday night part of it. I thought maybe it was the time change and he was getting blinded by the sun.
No, actually, it could have been Thursday night now. I mean, Thursday's fine, maybe even Wednesday. But Friday.
How about a clue, Aaron?
Friday is when he normally goes on the date.
Let's see if you can pull it out.
A date is not always a date.
Does that help, Susan?
How about it, Susan? Susan, don't make him do it, please. Please don't make him.
Orange?
Don't do it, John Ryan. Don't. Oh,
he's got to.
That hurt. Woo.
Okay.
Oh, Susan, I am so sorry.
I can't break the rules there.
That's all right.
Yeah, people have needed therapy for that before.
I need a lot of therapy. I've tried like 4 times. Thank you, Doug.
Right, Susan, thank you. And the number to call, 706-863-5800, Saturdays 8:05 to 10. And where we're going?
Let's go over to Mitchell.
Let's do it. Hey, Mitchell, welcome to the CNC Auto Show. What can we help with?
Good morning to you all.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed my wife's car had a little antifreeze leak. Having to add it, I couldn't see it really leaking, so I took it over to your shop this past Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd been in a little fender bender almost a year to the day when I took it in. And come to find out, when they did the work on the right front end down by what all that stuff is, but they left a radiator clamp loose.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys hot tested it, pressure tested, and then did it with a cold pressure test, and it blew the radiator hose right off.
Whoa.
And this was supposed to be a high-dollar auto repair shop, so I'm off of them like a dirty shirt. But I just wanted to say that I've been doing business with y'all for about 6 or 7 years, and I'm pleased with everything y'all do.
Well, we
thanks.
really do appreciate that too. Very nice, and I'm glad that you were able to get the leak stopped off. So that part went well.
Yeah, it was just a simple thing. I guess whoever was working on it just didn't tighten it back up. But the lady there told me it just blew it off, and so
wow,
I was pretty pleased with the service and very pleased with the price.
Well, we sure do thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. And appreciate the call, too. That part was good. Okay, the number to call, 706-863-5800, Saturdays 8:05 to 10 Eastern. And John Ryan, where will we be going to?
Let's go over to Charles.
Hello, Charles, and welcome to the CNC Auto Show. What can we help with?
Good morning. I wanted to try to answer the tech tip quiz.
Whoa, hold on. We have to put you up on. Charles, all eyes are on you. And do you need me to read the question again, or you have it?
No, I think I got it.
Okay. Now, this is big, Charles. This is huge. We're going to look for
it. You said it was a very bad day.
Yeah, very bad day.
Okay. I'm assuming what you're talking about is a blind date.
I don't know if it was a blind date or not. It
okay.
Might have been. I mean, of course, it's possible.
Maybe she was blind.
Well, I don't know. I don't have any way of knowing. I just know that he was on a bad date.
Well, this week was the first day of spring, which is 12 hours of sunlight, 12 hours of darkness. And if you're driving west into the sun, you can be blinded, causing you to have a wreck.
Wow. So the date had to do with because of the time, and he was driving at that date into the sun.
Exactly. And he was blinded by the light.
Yeah. There was a song about that, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Blinded by
the light.
Oh, man, that was pretty good.
Yeah, that was way better than Aaron. I mean, not different Aaron.
Okay. No, that is not the answer, but good try, though. I tell you what, we'll put that question on Facebook, and we'll look for some answers.
He gets something for singing on the radio.
Yeah, he does. That is true.
What you going to give him?
A coffee mug.
There you go, Charles.
All right, there we go. Okay.
We are out. He didn't leave empty-handed.
All right. Time clock's on E. We need to pull over for now, but we will be back on the road in no time. I am Eric Clements with co-host John Ryan Mooney. Our show producers are Dominic Frito and Sandy Klein. Our technical engineer is Zach Llewellyn. We'd all like to say thank you to all you that tuned in, logged in, and especially those that called in to ride with us on the CNC Auto Show.